Hari Om. If awareness is effortless, why do we need to make effort to realize the same? It is true that the awareness is effortless, but who makes the effort is the point. So, what is happening is that what we are in the state of deep sleep is pure awareness, the existence consciousness, Sachit Atma Aham, the pure I. Now, during the state of deep sleep, wherein we remain as Atma without physical body or the mind, the Atma is aware of itself. Atma has no need to be aware of any specific thing because Atma alone exists. Atma is all encompassing, right? The Brahman is all encompassing. The pure awareness is all encompassing. It kind of exists in even the minutest of the atoms. So that way it is there in all things, moving and unmoving things, inside and outside. It fills everything. It fills the entire universe, and it is also beyond. So it encloses everything and it also fills everything, both animate and inanimate objects. This is the nature of Brahman or Atma, the pure awareness, existence, consciousness, bliss. So the Atman is always aware of itself. It doesn't need any effort to be aware of itself because it is naturally aware. It shines by itself. It reveals itself by itself. It doesn't need any effort or aid to reveal its presence. So in deep sleep, we are naturally aware of our state of existence. Now, when we rise as ego after waking up, we become conscious of a body, we have a mind, and then we engage in the activities of the world. We have worldly objects with which we are linked in terms of thoughts, actions, feelings, emotions, etc. So when we thus involved with multiple worldly objects, then out of these multiple objects which are there, we can keep our attention on any of the objects. So to keep an attention on any of these objects means we need to focus our awareness on any specific object. So out of the various things, we can choose one to keep our attention, to focus our awareness on that particular thing. So this is for the ego in terms of the worldly objects. So the ego by its nature wants to hold to physical body or any specific form, and then it keeps on changing the different forms it is holding on to, leaving one and holding on to next one. So that way it is the very nature of the ego to hold on to forms and then to have some interaction with the worldly objects at all the times. So now when we want to turn within, what we are doing is we are turning or shifting our attention back towards the I thought itself from the worldly objects. So instead of keeping our attention on the worldly objects, we with effort turn our attention towards our own nature, which is the I thought. So thus when the I thought is deprived of holding on to any forms or the worldly objects, when the I thought is forced to look at itself, then it needs an effort. It needs our effort. I thought by its nature is formless, but it can exist only by holding on to forms. I thought rises holding on to a form, and then it gains strength, and it has a kind of continued existence due to the ability to hold on to one form after the other. It can be a form, physical body, it can be a thought, it can be a worldly object. So with something or the other, as I thought, we are always holding on to a form. So that way, for us to turn within, when the I thought is focusing on itself, which is actually without any form, then naturally it subsides back into its source, which is the pure I, and which is also its source, the original source of the I thought. So when the I thought is made to look at itself by shifting of our attention from the worldly objects, and when the I thought is made to stand alone by itself, then by its very nature, I thought cannot be in a position to remain without getting attached to any of the worldly objects for a long time. So with this practice of Mahayoga, the I thought will be made to subside back into its source, which is the pure awareness, the pure I, Aham. So thus when the I thought subsides back into its source, this can happen only with effort. So effort is needed in terms of subsidence of the ego, in terms of shifting of our attention towards I thought itself, so that I thought will subside back into the pure I and remain merged in the pure I for a time being. So this is happening with our effort. Now, having merged with the pure I, we don't need to make any effort actually to be aware of that pure I. Being merged in the pure I is aware of itself without any effort. So naturally, the pure I or the Aham is aware. It is self-shining, self-revealing, eternal. So it shines by itself. Hrit Swayam Spurati. இருப்புணர்வு தாமே விளங்கிக் கொண்டிருப்பது தோன்றும். The existence consciousness, the self-awareness, the awareness of I am is self-revealing. So it reveals by itself. So the moment we effect the subsidence of the ego into its source of pure I, then we naturally become aware, because being merged with the pure I, without any effort we will be aware. So this state is only called as the effortless awareness, wherein we remain merged in the pure I for a time being. Though again we will rise with the next thought, possibly due to our age-old vasanas, we may again hold on to a thought, and then as ego we get involved with the worldly objects, etc. So those interactions with the worldly objects rising as ego again is also there. It may happen, but with the practice of Mahayoga, in due course of time, as and when we rise as ego, we shall become naturally aware due to the practice of Mahayoga, so that the moment we become vigilant and aware of the fact that we have risen as ego again, holding on to worldly objects, so we shift our attention back to the source, so that we again cause the subsidence of the I thought back to the source, and then we shall again remain merged with the pure I, by which the awareness would again become effortless. So it is a kind of a transition from turning our attention with effort and then being in the state of pure I without any effort. Turning our attention requires effort, and it is an act of doing, whereas once being merged with the pure I, we doesn't need any effort to be aware, and it is a state of being. This is how doing and being happens when the ego has to turn within and after being merged with the pure I. So, for the ego to turn within and to subside back, it needs an effort. It is an act of doing. And having merged with the pure I, the awareness becomes effortless because it is aware by its nature, and so it becomes a state of being. So, with consistent practice of this ultimate path of Mahayoga, we will be in a position to remain merged in the pure I, the state of pure I, as much as possible, and hence shall remain in the state of effortless awareness, the state of pure being all the time with the grace of Bhagavan. So, being in the presence of Bhagavan is effortless, but to turn our attention within needs an effort. It is an act of doing. But as such, having merged in the presence of Bhagavan or being in the presence of Bhagavan is always effortless, and it is always an act of being only and not any kind of doing. So let us all remain in the presence of Bhagavan all the time, always, here and now, just by being. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva.